Hey guys, Weekend Modder here. Did you know that not having an HDMI or AV connected to your console could make it not boot? Stay tuned and we'll demonstrate that and talk about this trouble console. Thanks for watching. Alright, so this particular console I just did a proof video of and accidentally hit the eject button on the other day. It went out for a customer named Thomas D. It was a purchase console and delivered February 2nd. A little bit later, February 2nd, and you can see that it just booted up here, and I'm going to switch over just to show you that it is in fact booting Zell just fine. So a little later in the day on February 2nd, I get an email from Thomas and he says, hey, the console won't boot, what's up? And going a little back and forth with him, he tells me that the last thing he did was apply a stealth plugin, and that since then it refused to boot. And we went back and forth, and basically he described that the center LED would stay on, but it never did the little animation around the ring of light. So as you just saw, the console booted just fine. I went ahead like a good seller does and sent him a prepaid return label, so it didn't cost him anything, and promised to either repair or replace it, of course. I mean, he just got the console that day. When the console came in, first thing I did was just plug it into my own setup, and much to my surprise, thing booted up just fine. So what I want to demonstrate to everybody is just a quick example, and dang it, I hit the eject button with my arm here again, so I'm just turning the console back off. A quick example of what these consoles look like when they don't boot due to AV cable issues. And then I'm going to open up this console and just give it a thorough once over, and I figured why not stream while I was doing it. So you can see the HDMI plug here. I'm just going to actually pull that out so that it's not connected. I'm leaving the power connected, and then I'm going to come back around to the front side of the console and actually try to boot it up. If the audio is picking it up, what you can hear is the fan pulse did happen. It did do that little intermittent pulse, but as you notice here, no glitch success. That's because these consoles can actually detect if they have an AV connection to them. So since our HDMI is not plugged in, the console appears to not boot. This could be the case if you had the HDMI plugged in, but yet maybe the TV wasn't on the right input, or even if the HDMI cable itself was bad. But check this out. Without ever turning the console off, I'm actually just going to reach back here and plug that HDMI in, and watch what happens here. Bam! The moment I plug the HDMI in and it recognizes that it's got a successful connection, it had already technically booted. It was just waiting to actually output anything until it could recognize there was something watching, for lack of a better way to describe it. So as you can see here, the console is fired up, booted into Freestyle Dash just fine. I'm going to go ahead and sync a controller and see if I can identify what plugins that our friend Thomas might have set here. So it's the onboard, we got dash launch here, and then we got a regular pass here. So let's go down to plugins, and it looks like maybe he didn't save it when he thought he did or whatever, but I don't see any plugins set here at all, and the default action is still booting Freestyle Dash just fine. So yeah, I wanted to demonstrate that for everybody, that not having the HDMI or AV, and it behaves the same way if you were to repeat that process with an AV cable. If we were to, which I can demonstrate, I guess. So I powered it off. I'm gonna unplug my HDMI, and I do have an AV connection set up here. So I'm just gonna pull out my AV connection, and I'm gonna boot the console. So we can tell that it's booting based on, because this is a Corona, that fan makes a little high-pitched noise with each cycle that it's trying to go through. So I can still hear that it's trying to glitch. It hasn't successfully booted yet. But that sound stopped. So that tells me that it has now successfully booted, a good boot time. But again, no animation, no nothing, because it can't detect any video output. So check this out. I'll plug in my AV cable, and it actually is it started making the boot sound again, and then has rebooted successfully using the AV cable this time rather than HDMI. And if I was to turn on my monitor that's connected to that, well, I think I can actually pretty easily. No, I can't. It's not plugged into that one, is it? Let me see. Component, I think maybe is where it's plugged in. Yeah. So here, let me show you the camera. So there it is up on the monitor up there. That one's not routed through the capture card, so I can't easily demonstrate for you like with the nice crisp image like I can when I do HDMI. So that is what's up with this particular console. For those of you who want to hang out and check out the insides of this thing, that's what I'm going to do next. It's just kind of a quick once over of the console, just to be super thorough, because I don't want to, you know, have any other issues. All right, so top cable off. Chip out. Going to loosen the retaining clips there. Backside. Pull off the plates. Man. There we go. Loosen the retaining clip. Alright. Couple of quick screws. And we're in. So, take a peek in here. Now this one we did with the X360 Mega, which is that CR4 XL clone basically. You can see our points are still nice and tidy here. Our connections down to the C and D are just fine. We've got the connection for the CR4 special point that's up here, still tacked down. Nothing appears to have come loose. There's no post-fix adapter to have shifted. Everything looks fine inside this console. Plus, given that it's still booting normally, I'm going to say that you were having some sort of HDMI or connectivity issue. So I'll drop you a line with a link to this video, Thomas, as well as coordinate with you to get the console back out to you. So appreciate everybody watching and checking this out. The first part of this video is kind of the important part that I wanted to share, which is the fact that the console will appear to not boot depending on if you've got either unplugged HDMI or AV, or if the console just can't detect it because you've either got bad cables or a bad TV on the other end, whatever the case may be. So thanks for watching, and I hope this was educational.